So how much does a hearing aid actually really cost? Hearing aids are the third most expensive item that we own next to our property or our car, if you should own one of them. And many of us have gone through the process of purchasing a hearing aid only to wonder how is this small little device costing us a staggering amount. Some of us could be spending a couple of $100s for a older model, and some of us are spending over $7,000 for the latest and greatest features. I understand that some of you might be very fortunate to have your own country's taxpayer paying for your hearing aid if you're lucky to live in one of those countries where the government can subsidize for your hearing aid. But what is the actual true cost of making a hearing aid? For this video, I will be breaking down all the components of a hearing aid and actually the actual manufacturing cost and why we pay so much to own our hearing aids. Hi, my name is Era Abraham and I am the founder and CEO of Listening, a mobile app for people with hearing loss who want to know or receive notification to sounds requiring their immediate attention. So hearing aids consist of a simple purse, but are all kind of complex in this little product. And there are 8 known parts to a hearing aid that I'm aware of, and each of them play a different role in helping us hear better. So the first known part of a hearing aid is the microphone. The number of microphones that a hearing aid can have can vary depending on the complexity and the functioning of each of these microphones. The purpose of having a microphone in a hearing aid is really to attract the sound from our surrounding and then process it into the hearing aid. So the second part of a hearing aid is the amplifier. As people with hearing loss, we need volume to help us hear sounds that don't really meet the range of decibels that we're naturally able to hear. And so the amplifier plays an essential role in making those sounds louder for us to process into our brain. The third part of the hearing aid is the power source. Hearing aids are notorious for using a lot of batteries in the case of the disposable ones, as you probably understand. And these battery supplies actually provide the power that is necessary to convert the environmental sound into the digital sound for processing and then pushing those digital sounds into our ear. So the fourth item that you see in the hearing aid is called the telecoil. And a telecoil is designed for us to hear on the telephone specifically without the distraction of having background noises. So a telecoil is connected to a switch either by a remote or on the hearing aid itself. And when a telecoil is turned on, the microphone is actually turned off. So have you ever left your telecoil on after speaking on the phone with somebody and you're just too lazy to turn it off and you don't hear anything? Well, that's because your telecoil is looking for an electromagnetic signal instead of sound waves. The electromagnetic signals of a hearing aid and the telecoil, or from the mobile phone or a landline phone if that's what you're using, they connect and transmit sound to each other. So the fifth item that is essential to our listening is a receiver or a speaker. So for sounds to pass through the ear mold or the dome, a receiver pushes the sound out into the hearing aid and transfers it into our ears. This leads me to the ear mold and the dome as one of the 6 items in our hearing aid. And some of us use ear molds when we have a higher degree of hearing loss, and others can comfortably use a dome for less profound hearing loss. An essential item for modern hearing aids are chips. These are tiny little devices, are the same size as a fingernail. And like our smartphone or our computers, which also have chips, these are the hardware of the hearing aid. So they do all the work for us for processing the sound, to remove the background noises, prevent the whistling noise that can happen when we are wearing our hearing aid, and really help us hear speech in various noisy environments. And so for our 8th and final item in the hearing aid is the plastic covering for the hearing aids. So this hides and holds all the pieces together. So how much would all of these pieces cost if you and I were to make a hearing aid? Somewhere between $50 and $200. I'm not joking. Each part that I mentioned can cost the manufacturer somewhere between $20 to $30. So we are paying over 1,000% of the markup cost. And this is because many organizations are involved before we even get our hands on the newly built hearing aids. So to cover their business expenses and operation expenses, manufacturers charge around $300 to $600 for each hearing aid to your audiologist. It could be a hearing clinic or even Costco. And these manufacturers like Phonax and Widex and Resound and Starkey and others together own a $6 billion market. I mean $1 billion, not million. And you notice how when you never buy a hearing aid directly from a manufacturer, at least you don't realize it? The middleman is your audiologist and the hearing clinic, who then adds more cost to the manufacturing cost. And because they won't be seeing you for the next 5 years, or when your hearing aid breaks down, they need to cover their expenses, their salary, their building costs, and any other thing to get to the next sale. And in order for these businesses to be sustainable, they need to add more to the cost, and we end up spending thousands of dollars at the end. So most of us are probably aware that manufacturers are really the problem here. I hate to say this, but despite the fact that there are over 100 different hearing aid brands on this planet, unfortunately, you and I will only be introduced to a few big name brands because our audiologist has been locked in and restricted by hearing aid manufacturers to sell their product. What's even more troubling is that some of the hearing clinics in your neighborhood could actually be the hearing aid manufacturers themselves, disguising themselves under another brand and a hearing clinic. So you can always tell if you're caught in their trap when they only have one or two brands to sell to you. And so be very careful and make sure that you're getting the best possible solution for your hearing loss, especially if you're going to be spending that much money. There's so much lack of transparency in this hearing care industry, causing us to question the authenticity and the greed behind all of these products. Despite all the laws and the government regulation, this is still happening. We as consumers are left with little choice. We need better laws to support us, the consumers, and I am hopeful that we can choose companies that we respect and want to align ourselves with in the future with the power of our own money. They are not in control of us, but we as individuals should control our needs and wants. So thank you for listening, and until next time,